Welcome to the Kensington Gymnastics Podcast, recorded here in Kensington, London, W8. I'm Dr. Stefan Kolimechkov, founder of Kensington and Chelsea Gymnastics Academy. In this podcast, I answer the questions parents ask most often about children's gymnastics, health, movement, and development. Today's question is one of the biggest questions parents ask before joining gymnastics. Will gymnastics actually give my child an advantage over other children? And perhaps even more importantly, if my child later chooses football, swimming, tennis, dance, athletics, or another sport, will gymnastics help them? Well, because here in Kensington, Chelsea, and Knightsbridge, many parents are trying to make the best decision possible. Children are busy, time is limited, activities can be expensive, so naturally, parents want to know what is the best sport to start with. And my answer may surprise some people. If I could choose just one activity to give children between the ages of 4 and 11 the best possible foundation for movement, confidence, and future sport, I would choose gymnastics. Not because every child should become a gymnast, but because gymnastics teaches children how to move. And before children become good at any sport, they first need to become good at movement. They need balance, they need coordination, they need strength, they need flexibility, they need posture, they need body awareness, they need confidence, and they need to know how to control their body. That is exactly what gymnastics develops. I often describe gymnastics as the alphabet of movement. Before a child can write a sentence, they first need to learn the alphabet, right? And before a child can become confident in football, swimming, dance, or tennis, they first need to really learn the alphabet, which is underneath it. Gymnastics teaches that alphabet. It teaches it better than almost any other activity. This is not simply my opinion as a gymnastics coach. It is also supported by research. In sports science, we often talk about something called fundamental movement skills. These are the basic building blocks that support almost every sport and physical activity later in life. And that includes things like running, jumping, landing, balancing, turning, climbing, coordination. It's just controlling your body in space. So research shows that children with better movement, they are usually better, more confident, and more successful in sport later on. And this is exactly why gymnastics is so valuable. Because in a single gymnastics class, children are often doing far more than people realize. They may be balancing on a beam, jumping and landing safely, supporting their own body weight, climbing, rolling, turning, learning how to hold different shapes, learning how to control their posture, learning how to coordinate their arms and legs together. And all of these things transfer into other sports later. For example, a child who has done gymnastics often finds football easier because well, they have better balance and coordination. They often find swimming easier because they already have body awareness and control. They often do well in dance because they're stronger, more flexible, and more confident. Even sports like tennis, rugby, martial arts, and athletics benefit from the same foundations. The same foundations that we can find in gymnastics. In fact, many elite athletes in other sports started with gymnastics because it gives them an advantage that is difficult to build later. It is much easier to teach a coordinated child football skills than to teach an older footballer how to suddenly become coordinated. And here at KCGA, I see this all the time. A child might start gymnastics with us in Kensington at the age of 4 or 5. Then perhaps at the age of 7 or 8, they also begin football, swimming, or dance. Very often, parents come back and tell me, the coach said my child learns unusually quickly, or something like, they said my child already has excellent balance. That is the hidden advantage of gymnastics. Not that it makes children perfect, but that it gives them a stronger foundation. And in my experience, that foundation matters enormously. I remember one child who joined us here in Kensington when he was 5 years old. He was shy, quiet, and not especially confident physically. At first, he struggled with some balancing coordination tasks and things like that. But over time, through patient practice, he became stronger and more coordinated. About 2 years later, his parents told me he had joined a football team and that the coach had immediately commented on how balanced, agile, and controlled he was compared with many of the other children. Interestingly, this football coach had never seen him do gymnastics, but he could see the results of it. That is exactly what I mean when I say gymnastics gives children an edge. Not because gymnastics replaces other sports, but because it prepares children for them. And I think this is particularly important today. I mean, look, modern children, they often spend more time sitting and less time moving. Many children in London spend hours sitting at school, and then more time that they spend indoors or in front of screens. And as a result, even very capable children, very bright children sometimes arrive at sport with weaker balance, weaker coordination and posture than we might expect. I can see that firsthand as a gymnastics coach. So, gymnastics helps fill that gap. It gives children the movement, that's movement experience that they may not naturally get elsewhere. And there is something else that makes gymnastics unique. Most sports become quite specific very quickly. Football is mainly about the ball, swimming is mainly about movement in water, tennis is mainly about the racket control, but gymnastics stays broad. Gymnastics is about learning to control the body itself. And because every sport uses the body, gymnastics supports every sport. That is why I believe gymnastics is the best foundation sport for children. There is also another benefit that parents often overlook, and this is confidence. A real confidence comes from experience, it comes from a child thinking, I was nervous, but I did it. I couldn't do that before, but now I can. I'm getting stronger. I'm improving. Gymnastics creates these moments all the time. A child learns to balance, then perhaps to do a full throw, then to jump safely, then maybe to climb higher, to hold a shape or try something new. Each small success builds confidence. And over time, that confidence spreads beyond gymnastics. Parents often tell me that after a few months, their child seems more confident, not only in gymnastics, but also at school and in other sports and even socially. They're more willing to try, less afraid of failing, more comfortable in their own body. As both a coach and a researcher, I think that this is one of the greatest gifts gymnastics can give a child. My own published research found that children who practice gymnastics perform better in important areas such as jumping, agility, and overall fitness compared with children who did not. The National Health Service and the World Health Organization also recommend that children should do activities that improve strength, coordination, and movement skills. And gymnastics is specifically recognized as one of those activities. So, when parents ask me, is gymnastics worth it? My answer is very simple: yes. Because gymnastics is not only teaching children how to do gymnastics, it is teaching them how to move, how to learn, how to become more confident, and how to build the foundations that will help them for the rest of their life. Now, I do want to add one important point. When I say gymnastics gives children an edge, I do not mean that more is always better. For most children, especially under the age of 10 or 11, gymnastics works best alongside other activities. One or two gymnastic sessions each week, together with outdoor play and perhaps another sport, is often ideal. The goal is not to specialize too early. The goal is to build a broad and healthy foundation. That is where the real long-term benefits lies. If you're listening today from Kensington, Chelsea, Knightsbridge, or elsewhere in London, and you're wondering whether gymnastics is the right place to start for your child, my answer is clear. Yes, it is one of the very best places to start because gymnastics does not simply teach children how to do gymnastics, it teaches them how to move well, how to feel confident, and how to carry those skills into everything else they do. After this episode, I would encourage you to visit kensingtongymnastics.uk, where you can explore more resources and connect with today's topic. You can read our Why Gymnastics page, where I explain in more detail why gymnastics is one of the most complete activities for children. You can also explore our academy resources, comparing gymnastics with other activities. So, the idea is to help parents choose the best option for their child. The latest issue of Kensington Gymnastics magazine also looks at children's physical development, movement, and confidence, while our monthly Inside Kensington Gymnastics updates show how these ideas are put into practice in our classes here in Kensington and in Chelsea. You can also subscribe to our newsletter for more guidance for London families, and this podcast is designed to be part of that wider KCGA ecosystem, helping parents make informed decisions and giving families trusted guidance. Thank you for listening to the Kensington Gymnastics Podcast, recorded here in Kensington, London, W8. You can find the full transcript, episode notes, and more parent sources materials at kensington-gymnastics.uk.